Jalen, this little 2-day window here, Mark said that you guys have been going up and down a lot, like really trying to play. What's that doing for you guys right now, knowing that you still have got quite a bit of time until the first real regular season game?
Uh, we have been playing a lot, which is good. Everybody's trying to get their win back. I think it's good that we have this time too, like Jay Will gets to kind of take his time back, K Rich too. But yeah, everybody's just trying to play. This is kind of the time to be able to gel before the season. So you don't come in there and he can experiment rotations in here, and just with our depth, it's so competitive every practice. It's been really good for us.
Jalen, I don't know if you saw the GM survey, but they had you guys as both the most promising young core and second best in title odds. I just wonder how do you guys give yourselves grace as a young team while also maybe trying to uphold that championship standard?
I think it's hard to really know, at least for me, what a championship standard is, just because we have never won one. So I think a little bit of it is trying to envision that, and I think everybody just holds each other accountable. Nobody's really worried about the accolades and the preseason, all the stuff that comes with winning and being a good team. I don't really think anybody's really concerned with it. When we kind of come in here, it's completely separate from anything that's going on outside. So I think we've done a really good job of that since I've been here, and I feel like this year is no different. I think adding Caruso and Hart too, I think just kind of helps with a veteran presence there. Caruso's won at the biggest stage, so I think having him, I think he's done a good job of kind of holding practice to a higher standard and getting us to talk, and I think it's kind of having us evolve, but nobody's really too concerned what goes outside of it here.
You mentioned Isaiah being helpful as a veteran. Just in what ways has he been helpful there?
I definitely think from a big perspective, I think it kind of just helps Chet, and I think Jay Will, once he gets back in the flow, it's just he just plays differently from everybody else, which is kind of the beauty of basketball. Everybody brings something else to the table, so I think guys can kind of feed off some of the nice stuff he does offensively and defensively, and he talks really well. I think that's made Chet even more vocal than he already is, and then obviously Jay Will is very vocal. Thank you, brother. But yeah, I think he just brings a lot to the table, and I think kind of pushes everybody to kind of step their game up as well. So he's done a good job of that.
We've seen you shoot more pull-up threes here during preseason. Obviously, you shoot more, and we know that's something that coaches encouraged you and Shea to do more. Just how comfortable are you feeling with those plays?
It's something I work on, so I think that's what builds comfortability. The other thing is you can't be afraid to shoot it in the game and kind of try it and see what works. That's the great thing about preseason. You can go 0 for 100 or 100 for 100, just kind of getting those reps. And I think anytime the head coach is telling you to shoot more, it gives you a lot of confidence. So I think that's played a part in me and Shea. And I think as players, not just me, but everybody on the team wants to evolve. So it's just kind of one of those natural progression things.
What's it been like kind of finding your looks and realizing, what shots are good to take out there?
It's a little easier, honestly. It might be a little bit of preseason. Obviously, not everybody's defense is set up and stuff like that. So a lot of it just has to do with film, and I think we have good floor spacers as well, and I've kind of established myself as a driving threat. So you kind of just got to look at film and look at those opportunities and kind of go from there. Understanding the offense is a big one, and I think when you have other guys on the floor that can shoot, it just opens up more and more space.
Thinking of Shea specifically, what kind of dedication have you seen him put into that shot and working on the pull-up three?
I mean, he's shooting it literally right now. He shoots it every day, something that he probably shot all summer. You can even tell in the Olympics, it was something that he was working on. I think that's kind of a lost aspect that people don't really pay attention to, is you also work on your game in the game. So it's just a dedication thing, something that he's understood is an available shot for him. It's something that he's worked on, and I think kind of likewise for me. It's just one of those things you see that's open, and you just try and work on that and get effective at it.
You mentioned everybody wants to evolve. This is your third training camp now with Mark. I just wonder how he has evolved maybe in your mind, or if there's anything that he's had growth points on that you can see.
That's a good question. Good question. I think just overall, just kind of connecting with the players. He was already open, my first year, but I think just as a coach, the longer you're in an organization that trusts you, I think it just allows you to be more and more yourself. And I think our team definitely receives him really well, so that's allowed him to be more and more vocal with us. I don't know. As far as evolution, I mean, like, we all kind of see, like, the plays and stuff. I feel like a lot of that is more, like, the coaches and stuff will notice that as far as putting plays in and understanding us. But from, like, a person's perspective, I think just getting with the team, like, understanding how each of us are and understanding us that way. So I think relationally, I think just as far as relationships, he's been really good.
With the GM survey, you're also voted as the most likely breakout candidate. Does that type of recognition mean anything to you?
Not really. What is the GM survey? What is that?
The GMs, I guess, answer some questions about the different teams before this season.
Oh, no. I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, it's cool. Like I said, I think everybody has the same perspective. The outside noise is just noise, so I haven't even played a game yet, so got a lot to prove in that regard.
Did you watch Cody's game?
I did. I yelled at TV yesterday, so.
How excited are you to play against him someday?
I mean, it's coming up. I think we play them in November, so I think they're in our pool for, like, the tournament thing, right? Yeah, so it'll be really cool. It's already crazy watching him on TV, and yesterday he FaceTimed me while he was on the flight, so just kind of like little stuff like that is kind of crazy. But it's definitely a cool experience. It's a blessing. But, yeah, I'm looking forward to trying to take his head off, and obviously it'll probably be reciprocated energy.
I think a lot of people have mentioned Dylan and just how curious he's been early on. Just how have you perceived his curiosity, and what kind of questions is he asking?
He asks all the right questions. We are really open with people asking questions rather than just going out and not knowing. So I think he's kind of taken that and ran with it, which is great. It doesn't slow down practice. It's always, like, constructive, and it's, like, really easy fixes. He understands the game really well, and it's just one of those things. When he asks those questions, he does not make the same mistake. So he's been really good with that. And, we encourage him to ask questions. He's not the only person to ask questions either. It kind of just gets us further along with practice, and you don't have to explain things over and over again. And he's literally talking to Mark right now. I'll probably ask him more questions. But yeah, just smart player.
What's he been curious about just in terms of, like, NBA life off the floor?
If he has to bring the speaker every day. That's been a big one for him. Other thing is just, like, travel. Like, I feel like there's a lot of things that go under the radar in the NBA. Just travel, like when to pack, like what am I bringing, just stuff like that, like that you don't have to do for college. That is an adjustment now. Like, should I get a chef? When should I go to bed? Like, like constructive questions outside of just trying to be a pro, and that's something everybody's kind of willing to answer in here.
Mark, you may not have gotten there this far, but this upcoming week with the 2 games, do you anticipate trying to treat them kind of like a regular season week in terms of minutes for players? What are you kind of looking at as far as how to approach that 2-game stretch?
Not quite regular season-ish, but we'll get everybody out there. We haven't played in a couple days, and the guys that played in Houston haven't played even since the New Zealand game. So, we'll get a good little run here.
What have you seen from Aaron this season, just on the offensive end in particular? He mentioned just kind of expanding his aggressiveness a little bit. What have you seen from him in that regard?
I mean, he's above 40% from 3 the last 2 years. He was almost 50 last year if he wasn't. And, so I think that's a pretty good indicator that he could handle more volume, and leveraging that gravity could be good for us. So we're trying to put him in some of those spots, without losing some of the other stuff he does really well. But those habits are pretty good. So we are trying to layer a little bit to leverage the shooting. And as a result of that, he's ending up in some harder closeouts where he's able to drive it and make secondary plays. He's really improved as a decision maker over his time here. So he's a great developmental example of a guy that has he got the system down quickly. Yeah. He focused on the right things early, built a really strong foundation for himself, became a very impactful and additive and efficient player, which makes him easy to play. And now he's gotten better and better as he's had different experiences on the court. But he had a great summer. He's gotten better every year, and we're really excited about what he can bring to our team this year.
Mark, you were talking to Dylan there for a while. I just wondered if you can give us any insight as far as what you guys might have been talking about, and what are the kind of questions he's asking.
I'm always careful to disclose too much when it's a private conversation, but in general, these guys are early in their basketball careers, and who knows, training camp's not built for the rookies and the new players. Training camp's built for the team, and they have to catch up to that. And so I'm always trying to get in their ear and check for understanding and understand what they're experiencing. I've never gone through it before, and that's what I'm doing there. But I'm doing that with everybody. I met with a couple of returning players this morning. I'm just trying to get the temperature of everyone, make sure they're hearing from me a little bit, but especially the new guys, because you never know what they're going through. I mean, you're focused on, grad school stuff, and they're trying to figure out how to spell their name.
Yeah. He mentioned when we last talked to him, he kept dropping the word information. I just wonder, how have you perceived his appetite for information?
I love the spirit of it. A lot of the stuff with him is getting him to focus and getting him to focus on less and prioritize. He will sit there and talk all day about the screening angle on one play in the New Zealand game for 4 hours, which is great. Chet was like that. And what that tells you is that they love the game, and they have an unbelievable passion for their craft, and we wouldn't have it any other way. But in terms of becoming the best player that you can become, you should focus on the most important things, which isn't necessarily the screening angle in the New Zealand game. Not that that was part of the conversation, I'm making that up, but they can get into the minutia and they can lose the bigger picture as a result of that. So a lot of it's like guiding them onto what the priorities are. And I'm trying to do that right now. We're all trying to do that right now with him and AJ and Hartenstein and Caruso to a degree.
You'd mentioned with the question about Aaron that, higher volume might lead to more gravity there. In general, and I know it might be player to player, but is there a volume threshold in which you guys notice that teams go out and defend that more, and that gravity is more potent, compared to 1 or 2 threes attempted in a game?
Some of it's reputation, some of it's just like there's guys that shot it well in one game and everybody closes to them for the rest of their lives, and then I remember, and I say this as a compliment to Rondo. Rondo, people would still go a mile under him, and he was shooting 40% from three forever. He shot him out of it, but because of his early reputation, they still played him a certain way, and because of the threat of him getting in the lane. So some of it's that, but a lot of it for us is like an Aaron Wiggins 3 is a good shot, and if he's going to shoot it at 38, 39% instead of 50, but it's going to create more space for our team, then it'll net more positive than him shooting 50% on low volume. So trying not to look at that in a vacuum. The goal is not the highest percentage. The goal is the best efficiency for the team, and he can impact that by being a little bit more liberal with his selection.
Mark, I'm curious now, because I think some people will mention defensive reputation kind of altering the way certain guys attack, and maybe a guy had one great defensive season and it lasts their career. Where do you stand on that viewpoint?
It's similar. There's guys, in the NBA, I'm not going to use names, but there's guys that have kind of a defensive reputation that you can go at a little more than you think. And then there's other guys that, don't have a great defensive reputation, but that are hard to mess with, and so we can't control that. We can't control who teams go at or who they pick on defensively, but we can control our team defense and our one-on-one fundamentals and just trying to get everybody up to a certain threshold defensively on the ball and off of it.
You have a whole week of practice and then the 3 games under the belt. What are the things that you like the most on the team or player? And then what are the things that you like to look
That I dislike. Let's be honest.
no, to see more for the rest of the first season?
Yeah. What I like the most is the same thing that I've liked from day one, which is these guys are competitive and they're inside the team. They're team guys. They're good people. They're great professionals. They're a pleasure to be around every day. I've enjoyed every win, every loss, every day with this group of guys, and this has been no different. It's great to get back in the gym with them, and that has sustained, over time. And so that's been the best part. And the improvement is just it's early in the year, and there's a lot. You are pretty sloppy as you get your rhythm back, your conditioning, as the team learns one another. As we get back to, they've had the summer where they work on skills that are, a part of, their whole game, but then plugging back into the team, getting back into defensive schemes. I don't think they're doing many defensive schemes in LA in the summer. So, that's just inevitable. It just takes time to build. And you got to start at zero every single year, and we're in that process right now. We're early in that process. So when we watch the film, there's a lot of things that are jumping out that need to improve, and we're just trying to chip away and improve at them little by little.
What does Hartenstein unlock for you guys in the pick and roll?
Well, I mean, he's an elite screener that can really scrape defenders off of the ball, and he's got a great physical presence. Obviously, he's strong and big, but his mind is equally as good. I mean, he's got a very, very, very good understanding of the nuances of the pick and roll game at this point. I've mentioned it to you guys before, but he has an understanding of who he's playing with, how they're being defended on an individual possession, and how to create an advantage. And that's really what the game comes down to, is creating advantages. And once you create the advantage, you can move the ball, you can move the floor, but without an advantage, it's really hard to score. And as a screener, he creates advantages, and then he does it again on the offensive glass on the back end of the play.
We obviously can't be everywhere in this gym and see everything, but it always feels
Good.
like it always feels like every time we come here and wherever David Daigneault is working out guys, it's like the liveliest corner of the gym. Like, how would you describe his relationship with some of the guys he works with?
Yeah, DA is, first of all, I think it's my 10th year working with DA, because we were assistants with I was a head coach, he was an assistant with the Blue, and then we were assistants together for a year. And then he's been here every year that I've been the head coach, so I have a great professional collaboration with him for a long time. He's a good man. That he's never had an inconsistent day in 10 years here. He's the exact same guy, and I think that's why the players gravitate to him the way that they do, because everything else is inconsistent in the NBA. The narratives are inconsistent. The wins and losses make it an inconsistent existence, and there's a lot of turmoil outside of the building in the life of an NBA player or anybody that's working in the NBA. And so when you can come into the building and have consistency, I think players really learn to trust that, and we try to present that as an environment collectively. But he is a great representation of that. He's the exact same person every day. They know what they're getting. He can make them laugh, but he also is very stern, and he's very serious, and he holds very high standards regardless of who it is. He's working with Caruso primarily this year. He worked with Caruso with the Blue years ago, and the bar, Alex, is obviously he's an NBA champion now at this point in his career, and back then he was a rookie, and the bar is the exact same place. So when a player's working with DA, you know that it's going to be done to a certain standard, which is a credit to him, and I think it shows up with how the guys respond to him.